It's time for the Curtis Riggs Show. Curtis Riggs, the head coach of the 10-time champions of the Indoor Football League, the Sioux Falls Storm. The Curtis Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. It's the Curtis Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. Here's your host for the Curtis Riggs Show, the Silver Fox, Rich Rosti.
And good afternoon, and hi, everybody. I'm Rich Rosti, and welcome to the final Curtis Riggs Show of the 2017 season. A season that saw some milestones for the Storm broken, some challenges throughout the season, and a season-ending loss in the United Bowl to the Arizona Rattlers, 50-41. And congratulations to Coach Kevin Guy and the Arizona Rattlers, the 2017 United Bowl champions and champions of the Indoor Football League. But this show is not going to be focusing on the negatives and be a doom and gloom type of season post-mortem. What we're going to do, rather, we're going to concentrate on three areas: the past season, the present game, and the preparation for the future of the Sioux Falls Storm football program. Now, in my life, I've always been taught and learned that when you have a loss in your life, just take a moment and look back and find positives that have happened in your life. And maybe that will put the loss into perspective. And once you've done that, move on. And when I think that, as far as that's concerned with the Sioux Falls Storm, I think about some very positive things. 6 consecutive United Bowl wins, a total of 10 league titles, $400,000 raised and given back within the community over the last 3 years, a 40-game winning streak, the longest in professional sports, a 68-game winning streak at home. None of those things can be taken away from the Sioux Falls Storm. I mean, that is something that they have accomplished. And when you think back about it, look at all of the body of work there, then you look at the loss, that is one loss. And basically what that loss has done is that now the Sioux Falls Storm will start anew. They'll start a new streak, possibly, new accomplishments. You know, the things that have passed are over. The end of the Storm, as it has been, has taken place. And for right now, the new beginning with the Sioux Falls starts as a team and a franchise. And like I said, it starts right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what Coach Riggs and the owner, Todd Trine, are going to be doing with this ball club. We're going to be talking to both of them during the course of this Curtis Riggs Show. So what new heights can the Storm reach? The 2018 season starts in only 7 months. Now, you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on KWSN, brought to you by Sioux Falls Sports Medicine Providers, the Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. When we come back, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach, Curtis Riggs, and you're listening to 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
Do you know what insurance agency?
When you think rugged, when you think tough, when you think big, think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. We keep you moving.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And our opening interview with the Storm head coach, Curtis Riggs, is brought to you by our great friends over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. They have been sponsors since day one with the Sioux Falls Storm. Come see what fresh really is. They deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just breader. And that's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing great. Sun came up at my house on Sunday morning. Imagine it came up at your house, and we move on.
I got up and mowed my lawn and went to a fan appreciation event.
Well, good for you. Well, I tell you what we're going to do today, Coach. We're going to talk about the season, a little recap of the season. Then in our next segment, we'll talk a little bit about the game, the United Bowl itself. And then in our final segment, we'll talk about the future. So we'll talk about 3 different phases of the Storm season and what things look like going forward from this particular spot. But, Coach, when you think back on the start of this season back in February, when you got everybody together, brought the players in, what were some of the challenges that you had in your mind that you were going to be facing to start this campaign in 2017?
Well, the number one thing was replacing Charlie Sanders and Mania Smith, and really trying to train myself to realize we're not going to be able to replace them, but how do we move forward without those two?
Okay. And tell us how it did work out with Rashad Mungro moving over to center.
You know, I think Mungro really did a great. I mean, you know, it's easy to say, well, he's first team All-League, but it had its ups and downs, and he never once complained. And we had our exit meeting today with him and talked about playing center and the challenges of it. And I was like, Mungro, you know, a lot of times I looked at you in practice and thought, boy, that just does not look like it's much fun. And he goes, well, I'm really tall, and you got to really get low at that position. And you got someone constantly just bashing into you full speed. Where at tackle, they take an angle, they take an edge, and you're able to kind of cope and deal with not having a guy hit you square on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, he talked about the adjustments that he did a great job. He really did a nice job for us and was great. But it's something where, you know, it was a transition throughout the season. But he still worked his tail off, and he deserved the first team All-League.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize is as you go through a season, and most teams go through this, and the Storm is no different than any other team, but tell us about some of the challenges that you faced throughout the course of this year, getting to the end of the season. Tell us about some of those things. Well,
some of the obvious challenges that we faced that, you know, people probably saw and heard of were the injuries. You know, we are prepared to deal with injuries. I mean, we are. But when you have such a slew of injuries at one position, it just became insurmountable at one point. I mean, it really came to the point where I think we might go what Green Bay did we might go wing, you know, the wishbone offense and just try to line up and play smash mouth football. Because as it seemed like Corey or Mike Tatum went down, broken arm. You know, Melvin German had an injury. Then Corey Williams has an injury. And then the guys we would bring in behind them, you know, Goodman has an injury. And it just seemed like it kept piling on. I was like, oh, my gosh, what are we doing with these guys? And then you sprinkled in injuries amongst those. And those ones we could deal with. Even, you know, Tyler Knight, we sit him for a few games. Elijah Fields, we sit for a game. Matt Hermanson, we sit for those we could overcome. But when you lose player after player after player at a particular position, it becomes tough. And it caught us, you know, during that stretch to where we lost at Wichita Falls, and even to when we finally were getting guys back, but we just were not on the same page. And it was very evident that first game when Wichita Falls came back up to our place.
And as you go through the season, one of the things I wanted to also talk about, the challenges of the other teams. Have you seen an improvement of quality of teams throughout the league?
I think it was kind of up and down, Rich. I think at times you saw teams that were good, and then you would see a team that it was like Jekyll and Hyde. You know, we played Green Bay, and they would play really good football. And then you would play them again, and you're like, that is not the same team that we played that was up 17 on us. You know, and I think that's where we saw a difference in the league, where some of the bad teams could beat good teams on certain nights. Yep. They could, whereas in the past you never saw that. But now you saw bad teams that could beat good teams, but then you could also see bad teams be really bad too. And that's where I think, you know, the league is still growing. Teams are getting better, but they're not quite sure how to do it week in and week out. And then you have some teams that have really improved. You know, Wichita Falls had a very good team, and they built their team to beat us. And when they came up and played us the last time, they played a flawless game, and they really got after us. And, you know, it was one where we just didn't have an answer, and they were the dominant team, and they deserved that win. And that I was really hoping we would get another chance to play Wichita Falls. And it didn't work out that way, but, you know, it is what it is.
Well, the team that took them out was the Nebraska Danger. Nebraska took us to the limit out there. It took an interception at the end of the game to defeat them here. Then they defeat Wichita Falls. Nebraska Danger, good ball club out there. They have really elevated their program out there under their new head coach.
Well, and I think Nebraska's always been a great contender. I mean, you know, even last year they made the playoffs. You know, without Jamal Sewell, they go through the transition, and they make the playoffs. They've always had really good athletes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you remember the teams that we played in the title games. I mean, they had very impressive lineups. And so you expect they might have a down year, but they would rebound. They just, with the owner they have, the front office, the support that they have, they're going to do good things. So I didn't find that as surprising. I was surprised that they really got after Wichita Falls the way they did. And I thought they were the hottest team in the league going to Arizona. But, you know, they went in with the same game plan, didn't make any changes, and Arizona just pummeled. They played like they did against us the first half and did it all 4 quarters against Nebraska.
Any other comments about the season that you have, Coach?
It was long, Rich. I mean, 16 games, regular season, is a long, grueling season. And I don't think fans realize, I think it's long for the fans too, but I don't think they realize, you know, just what the guys go through.
Oh, my, yeah.
You know, I mean, there's going to be the ups and downs with this. It takes such a physical toll on their body that eventually, mentally, they start to crater. And, you know, we do about everything we can to try to find different ways to keep them mentally focused and challenged and how to get up for a team. But eventually it just, you know, it corrodes and it's really difficult. And thankfully we had enough guys that could keep the glue together to where, you know, we got to where we were in a position to win out and get in the playoffs and go and play for another title.
Very good, Coach. When we come back, we'll talk about the United Bowl.
I look forward to it.
Very good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And our opening interview brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is, and they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just better. We'll be back right after this.
At Midwest.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Routine services can save you money in the long run. Call Waterbury to schedule yours today.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, located East 10th Street in Sioux Falls. They are the official away game viewing party hosts. And also want to thank you to Budweiser and Beal Distributing, also a part of that whole package. Thank you for hosting the viewing parties all season long. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. We're going to talk about the United Bowl. It was a game that started out the first half, probably about everything that could go wrong went wrong, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it's probably one of the ugliest halves of football I think I've seen in quite some time for us.
You know, there was a fumble return for a touchdown by Arizona, missed field goal, returned 45 yards, set up another touchdown. They had a 34-yard touchdown pass. We get through that. We go into halftime. You're down 34-7. There's a tremendous change in the third quarter. What happened at halftime that sparked that big change at the third quarter?
Well, you know, what I said or didn't say at halftime, I think really wasn't as significant as us finally coming out and getting that first touchdown. It just seemed like it was we just got so tight and wrapped up. Could we finally get in the end zone? And then when we did, it was like just such a sigh of relief. You saw the defense come out. Okay, the offense can score. Here's what we're going to do. And you just saw the whole, the environment change with our fans, our players, everybody.
And, like you said, you got that opening touchdown. Lorenzo Brown hit Judd Harrell from 17 yards out. Your defense comes out, recovers a fumble. Then Robbie Rouse winds up getting a touchdown. So you got 14 unanswered points right off the get-go, and Arizona's only had one snap of the football. And that just changed everything, like you said, dramatically.
Well, it did. I mean, it made it to where even when we got within 2 touchdowns, you could see everyone like, hey, this is a ball game again. And then when we got within 6, Rich, I thought we were going to win that game for sure. We got the ball within 6 points, and I thought we're going to score here, and this is going to be a fight to the end, and we're going to win this game.
And how we got to that 6-point deficit, Brandon Pequise tips the ball up, gets it, carries it into the end zone from 2 yards out. Storm is within 6 points, 34-28. Storm hold Arizona, and then the Storm is stymied offensively. You had some very close plays that were being good, but you set up a 4th down at your own end of the field. Walk us through the whole process, how you decided to do that, and what all actually happened.
Well, it's one thing that I actually opted to kick the field goal first, and then I made the decision, Rich, that, why are we going to change what we do? All year we have stuck to the philosophy that this is a situation we go for. And there was 2 things that played into my decision. One, that very reason I just gave, that, now I'm going to start playing scared. I mean, we get to this point because of what we've done all year, and now we're going to change that. And then the second factor was the kick return by Arizona. We were actually closer, and we opted for a field goal before the half, and Justin, missed the kick, and they ran it back to the 5 and got an easy score. And I thought that was one of the costlier plays in the game. Those 2 things really factored in, and I felt like we had a very good play call for that situation. And we ran it, and we had Mike wide open, and the ball got tipped, and there was a very questionable call on the play, and it didn't go our way, and so then the defense got put in another really tough situation. I thought the defense, for getting put in very difficult situations all night, really did a great job.
That is the only touchdown that they gave up in the second half. You shut out Arizona in the third quarter. You gave up 1 touchdown when they had the ball at the 5-yard line or about the 8-yard line. And they gave up that touchdown, but your defense held them to 3 field goals and when they had their backs against the wall many times. And like you said, the defense played very well.
They did. I mean, I talked on with John Gaskins earlier today, and as he kept just beating it to a pulp of how dominant Arizona was, I tried to, clearly remind him the Storm was as dominant the second half as Arizona was the first half. And our defense was put in an even more difficult situation than what theirs was. And we came out and we just shut them down the second half and got after them. And I think if anyone that saw that game walked away feeling like Arizona was the far superior team, they're clearly forgetting the second half, because I would like to take the second half Storm against the first half Arizona and see what would happen. I would love to play them again, and I'm sure we're going to get chances.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I mean, they won the first half more than we won the second half, and they get the game because of that.
But the thing about it is that you brought it up in the postgame show, and we're talking to Storm head coach Curtis Riggs about the United Bowl, is how your team just battled to the very end. You were down, you're up close by 6, got down by as much as 16, and you still fought back and wound up. You were in a position to go in for a touchdown with some time left on the clock with the possibility for an onside kick. I mean, all the way to the very end, your team was battling it out tooth and nail.
Even when we didn't get that fourth down 6, Rich, I mean, we still, they score, and we're down. We're down 13.
Yeah.
We get the ball back, and we fumble. You know, we were having snap issues all night long. And it was one where you call the play and hold your breath at times. And it was one of those things where we kicked Kyle Bryant off the team. Mungro gets hurt, and then Mungro's going to play hurt, and we can't play him at center. So Jabari Buckley steps in and does a great job. But the snaps, it took its toll. And we fumble. The defense holds them to a field goal, so we're down 16. We take down, score. And then there's all the controversy with two-point conversion. And you're right. Then we had a chance for an onside kick, though. It was a beautiful onside kick. It literally, Rich, you have to watch it frame by frame to try to see if someone's offside. It's very close. I mean, very, very close. And then the call was incorrect about illegal contact because they crossed the 10-yard line. They step across. If anyone steps across, they're fair game. If they sit back, you cannot hit those guys until the ball goes 10 yards. But they come across, we light them up, and we recover. And you know what, though? It was close enough to where the official thought there was an offside, so they called it. That should have been the call, possibly, but there should not have been any illegal contact. So anything, we should at least got another onside kick attempt.
Things go right down to the very wire. You get down to the 15-yard line, and you try a pass. You're down by 9, and the pass is intercepted. The ball game ends. Arizona wins 50-41, and it was probably the most exciting game that I have been a part of. We have highlights. We have a full 4 minutes of highlights. Mike Aldrich and Sean Bubba Bryant were with me in the broadcast. There's some humor in there. There's some great plays by the Sioux Falls Storm. We're going to run that as we close out the show this afternoon. But any other final comments, Coach, about the United Bowl and any of that?
Yeah, you know, I have one big one. And it's really one more of, you know, this year we never really had many. I think we had one game where we had actual Sioux Falls officials in our game.
Uh-huh.
And you know, the thing I was told is they were rotating them around, and so I understand that. But, you know, we come to the championship game, and our referee and our back judge are from Arizona, the Arizona Crew. We were told that Sioux Falls officials cannot do playoff games, but Arizona officials can? I don't understand that at all. I'm at a loss for that. And I've tried to get an answer, and I just haven't gotten any response back. But, you know, I question how that can be. You know, we have good guys here in Sioux Falls, guys that are very capable. But I just wonder how they get, you know, they're not allowed to do our games, it seemed like, in the regular season, and they're obviously not able to do the championship game. But bringing someone in from Arizona, I think maybe if Sioux Falls guys can't, maybe we shouldn't have Arizona guys too. And maybe that's a direction the league should look at and an improvement we can make as a league.
Great point, Coach. Great point. When we come back a little bit later, we'll talk about what's coming up next year for the Sioux Falls Storm. So stay tuned, Coach. We'll be back with you after just a little bit. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. And we'll be back with the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon, as the Curtis Riggs Show continues right here on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio KWSN.
Hey there. Let's take a moment and see what those legs can do. Don't just sit there. Stand up. Take a little stroll around the room. Go ahead. We'll wait. Now think about the remarkable network of bone tissue and joints that just made that ordinary walk an extraordinary occurrence. At Orthopedic Institute,
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, a flavor experience. They've had great response this year to their ticket giveaway. We thank them so very much. Wingstop of Sioux Falls. He is the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon. Todd, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Well, thanks so much, Rich.
You know, it was a tough loss, a tough way to end the season. But I want to say this. I think that what you did and orchestrated with throughout your staff, you put on a tremendous event at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. A good crowd and just great pregame. We had a great halftime. Everything about it. It was a great show for the fans that turned out for the game.
Well, Rich, the one thing when I got involved in the Storm here 6, 7, 8 years ago was, you know, I got involved because of the football side, and you quickly realize that you're probably more in the entertainment business. And, you know, that's been a learning curve, figuring out how to entertain and putting on events. And, you know, we had a crowd, our tickets out was 97-62. And, you know, when you got that type of crowd showing up, you got to entertain. And that's what we did is, you know, we got together as a staff, and we always have a staff meeting before the week before games, and just, you know, came up with different ideas on how can we entertain, do something a little different. And, you know, it's compliments to our staff, you know, putting a plan together, executing it, and, you know, ultimately see the product that you showcase. Well,
now that you've had the Storm as an owner for these several years, moving over from the old Sioux Falls Arena into the Denny Sanford Premier Center, what is it that you could tell the fans right now as far as what it's meant to you, the support that they have given to you in that whole transition? And when you took over, things were in disarray. There were real problems with the franchise as far as the business part of it and how you're able to work through that. You know, tell us about the progression and how this has really been such a great move, especially with the fans.
Well, I'll tell you, Rich, through the 8 years, there's been two constants that have gone on. And you know, behind the scenes, we went through a lot of changes and, you know, we went through a lot of issues. And, you know, it was an expensive lesson, I always like to say. But the two constants that we've always had was our on-the-field product that Coach Riggs has provided has been second to none, and our fan support. It has always been the best in the league. You know, from the day that we took over to, you know, this past Saturday night, you know, we always have been able to pride ourselves in our on-the-field product and our fan base. And that really shows when you tune into YouTube. And, you know, we're always the envy of the league, not only because we win, but because of, you know, our incredible fan support that we have.
And that is, you know, Jim Laurie, he's going to be on the show a little bit later, but Jim has done a fantastic job connecting with, you know, corporate partners and within the community and all of that type of thing. And I think that's when the change has really transpired, is when the emphasis wasn't just to sell advertising, but it was to do something good in the community. And you guys have taken that to fantastic heights.
You know, I can't take the only credit I can take for it is I hired Jim. And even that, he seeked me out. So I can't even take credit for that almost. But, you know, Jim has done an outstanding job of really finding great stories that need help, need support, need highlighted. And, you know, he always brings a group of people together, and they put a plan together, and they execute every single fundraiser. You know, that there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes, and the guy is outstanding at it. And what it does, it brings new people into your building that probably wouldn't get there. It has people out there talking about your product that probably wouldn't be talking about it. And that's how you're able to build on it, you know, year after year after year, and that's how you continue to see, you know, the new faces, and you draw the type of attendance that we do.
One thing I really need to do is to ask you, we're talking to the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, Todd Tryon. Anything that you can share with us as far as the health of the Indoor Football League, growth, contraction, what's ahead for the IFL? Anything that you can share with us at this time?
You know, Rich, this time of year, you know, whether we win or lose, and usually we win, but even losing, you know, this week is a time of reflection. It's a time of taking a step back, and actually I fly out to Dallas tomorrow morning for our other business. We have a leadership training deal out there, but it's always a great time to get away from everything, reflect on the season, reevaluate, hit reset, and try to figure out what's best for our franchise. And looking at the Indoor Football League, the IFL, I'm pretty confident. This time of year, there's always rumors, there's always things going on, but I'm pretty confident we're going to have 8 to 10 teams back. It'll be a strong competitive league, and that's kind of where we sit at.
That's answered as well as I could have asked for it. Todd, I always appreciate having you on the Curtis Riggs Show. Congratulations, what you and your team have done to create such a positive influence in the Sioux Falls area and the community. Thank you so very much for all that you do, and my very best to you as you move forward.
Rich, you're a great compliment to everything we do. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Todd Tryon, the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. Jim Loria coming up next right here on the Curtis Riggs Show, and you're listening to it on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio KWSN.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And this segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And coming up next, he is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, and he has done so much more than that. Jim Loria, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
It's always a pleasure, Rich. Thank you.
We have a little bit shorter show today because we have Canaries baseball coming up before the top of the hour. I just wanted to visit just a little bit with you, congratulate you. You are a big part of the reason that the Sioux Falls Storm received the Community Relations Team of the Year for the IFL, as you had raised over the past 3 years $400,000 plus given back into the community through fundraisers and different programs. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. And you always know it takes a lot of people. Well, one, the fans. I mean, we constantly say it. This city's amazing, with the support. And you see things like the United Way, the numbers that come out of this area, the dollars. And our fans have been unbelievable. So there's a lot that they do to make that work. And then you have Todd Tryon as the ownership side, where you have to really be committed to it, because there's money that goes out of his pocket, so to speak, and so you got to thank him, and then there's a lot of work, that goes into it. So it's a combination of a lot of things, and these charities do work hard for it, and so we're enjoying. We've already got next year 7 of the 8 games already picked. I mean, there's a lot of people that have enjoyed what's been going on, and there's a lot of people now that have heard about these fundraisers, so we get a lot of calls, and so we're constantly trying to find the right mix of causes and organizations to help benefit.
One thing I just wanted to mention, we're just about out of time with you, Jim, but I wanted to mention you have something special coming up as far as shooting is concerned. Tell us about that.
Well, it's something we've never done before, but the Coleman Waterbury people have been involved for 3 years. They've hosted what's called a trap shoot. They call it Sporting Clays. It's at a place called Hunter's Point, not too far away here from Sioux Falls, and so they've asked us to team up with them. It's obviously it's a fundraiser, and it's the Warriors Never Give Up is a brunt of what the funding will go to. That's the military group we helped on Military Night. Our Taken by Storm group will be part of it. So if there's anybody out there, it's basically golf, but it's trap shooting in some ways. You have foursomes. I know they don't call it a foursome, but if anybody's out there that has an interest, definitely get a hold of me. We're registering groups as we speak. It's going very well. This will be the 3rd year. I mean, and Waterbury and Coleman do such a fantastic job, Rich. I mean, the dinner is going to be prime rib, just to put it that way. So it's August 26th. That's the date of it. It's a Saturday, August 26th. It's in the afternoon. So it's a fabulous thing. I've heard so much about all the businesses that do this. It's a very hot thing right now in the market area. It's almost like superseding the golf fundraisers. This is now becoming the new thing. And so we're getting involved. Coleman Waterbury, as you know, has been a long-time partner, and we do the golf with them, and they had asked if we could tag in with them for this particular event.
Well, Jim, thank you so very much. It's been a fantastic year, and we'll be talking to you down the road.
Thank you, Rich, for all that you do, too. Thank you.
Jim Lauria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. Coming up next, the head coach. We're going to look ahead for the Sioux Falls Storm right here on the Curtis Riggs Show, 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
No matter what you do, getting the
Success in business is about growing your bottom line. Now, there are two ways you can do this: increase revenue and decrease spending. This is where we come in. At A&B Business Solutions, our managed print services will optimize your print environment, reducing your total printing costs while improving workflow. Managed print services will impact your bottom line. MPS, it's just another solution from A&B, the company that helps you solve, simplify, and save.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli, Fresh Subs, 917 South Cliff Avenue. Slice fresh, bake fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is. That's Good Sense Deli, Fresh Subs. Canaries baseball coming up at 6:55. J.J. Hardigan will have the call for you. And right now we're going to be joined with our final segment of the year with the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Coach, I said this, I was interviewed earlier by John Gaskins, and I made a comment. I want to see if it's fairly accurate or not. The 2018 Storm season started probably a couple hours after the end of United Bowl for you, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I actually sent Commissioner Allhouse a text message asking, hey, when can we talk to the players from the franchise teams? And then, how soon can we start signing guys? And because, we want to, Tyler Peterson and I, we want to get going right away. I mean, someone texted me the next day, hey, how you doing? And I said, extremely motivated, I really feel like losing stinks no matter what, but it's something that I hated to watch the guys experience. I hated to watch the fans experience. I hate to have my players get subjected to such, harsh criticism when they lay everything on the line. And it's not fair to them, but it comes with the territory. And so I want to make sure that, our organization does everything it can to make sure that we try to provide the best product possible.
Have you had any players declare they're not returning next year?
No, and we really don't let them, Rich. We really say, right now is not a time to make a decision on anything. We don't make a decision on them, and then we ask them not to make a decision for or against. We just, go home, rest your body, because their bodies are just so beaten down right now. And so then we say, the vets, we need to know by this point, and then the third-year guys that are going to be vets, we got to know, and then we have to make a decision on those. And then what flexibility, who do we want to replace? Where do we want to find new vets? And then where do we want to fill in the gaps? Where do we need improvements from there?
One of the things that you said that I think this is why we're going to end this show for the year is that you said you were highly motivated, and I think that's exactly what the fans should hear, and for them to also take on that mantra themselves, that this is a whole new beginning starting for the Sioux Falls Storm, and it's a way to start fresh right now, and everyone should be highly motivated for the upcoming season because there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to be able to accomplish with that motivation starting right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disappointing when I hear fans that are so doom and gloom, that it's just all over. And if anything, I would ask them, hey, it should be the opposite. Hey, here we go again. Let's start all over again. Let's start another streak. Let's figure this out. And, we do it together. I mean, don't be the bedwetter that's going to ruin it for everyone and be that person. Because, we do have some that are doing it. I would ask, don't. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll get it worked out. I think our track record shows that we've experienced some success after some hard times, and we can do this again. And one game does not determine hard time.
No.
I mean, it was one game. So one thing, though, Rich, I want to make sure I thank my coaches, their families. I want to thank you and Sue. I mean, everyone, they just think they hear you game day and the coaches show. They don't realize the amount of work that you put in. I mean, it's all week long for you, too. As I said, it's 160 days for the players. It's 160 days for Rich and Sue Rossi, too.
Well, thank you.
The Slatteries, all our sponsors. We have tremendous sponsors. Our front office is the best. Allison is awesome. And Jim Laurie, fantastic job. And then Tyler Peterson as GM. And then our owner, Todd Tryon, and Jesse Johnson was a tremendous support and really helped us out this year and is going to continue to make sure the Storm is in the main front and playing in Sioux Falls.
Coach, congratulations on another successful season, and can't wait to join you again next year as we start this pup all over again.
I always look forward to the road trips. We got to get Kyle Weebasek back, and then that'll make things just perfect.
Start talking about the Civil War and show Super Troopers on the movies.
Get going back to Wyoming again, yep.
Thanks a lot, Coach. My very best to you. Good luck with your academy all summer long. We'll talk to you again down the road.
All right, thank you, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. He's motivated. Good Sense Deli Fresh Sub sponsored this. We'll be back with the final wrap-up of this Curtis Riggs show, the final one, right after this.
When people think of Uncle Ed's Specialty Meats, what?
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
I want to thank John Michaels. I want to thank all of our sponsors for all season long. It has been a fantastic ride, and God willing, I'll be back next year to bring you the broadcast of the Sioux Falls Storm. J.J. Hardigan and the Canaries baseball coming up next. And to take you out, here are some highlights from the United Bowl. Good night, everybody. Have a great offseason.
Corey Williams on the kick return. Goodbye! Goodbye, Henrietta. He takes it to the house. Touchdown, Corey Williams. That's his second kick return for a touchdown this year. Holy help me, Hannah. What an answer by the Sioux Falls Storm. Back to the 17-yard line, second down and 15. Lorenzo Brown throws end zone, and Judd Harrell brings it in over Chapman. Took it away from Chapman, who was defending. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. And now the Rattlers. Second down and 8 from their own 13-yard line. And Sokol will work under center as he has Harmon behind him. Two in motion, one each side, fake the handoff to Harmon. Sokol under pressure, and he's going to be hit, dropped, and the football comes out. Scramble for the ball. Storm pick it up, and they recover it at the 14-yard line. And coming up with that fumble recover for the Sioux Falls Storm, Elijah Fields. And we got some extracurricular activity, but the Storm get the turnover. And they have it first and 10 at the Arizona 15-yard line.
You know, we were talking off air a little bit. Arizona at halftime might have been feeling pretty darn good, up 34-7. There could be a letdown, and sure, you see what they come out and get that touchdown right away, and then all of a sudden a turnover, and momentum is all on the Storm side.
Well, that time Lorenzo was waiting for those routes to come open, and then the pressure started getting to him. He ends up throwing it away, but he looked like he was as uncomfortable as Bubba was just talking right there. I don't know.
I was thinking of something else, but.
One through the box. There's a, what was that?
That was a direct snap to the man in motion. That was the greatest snap by a center. What timing on that play? No, it was so late that by the time the slot came across in motion, Mike Tatum just caught the ball. It was right to him. So
I much preferred Rich's reaction to that play.
What was that?
Second down and goal from the 7. Option play gets it to Robbie Rouse. Left side carry. He's got some room. Into the end zone. Standing up. Touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. a 2-possession ball game.
I still think, Rich, if we come back, you got to definitely play on Al Michaels, the old Monday Night Football guy. Do you believe in miracles? That would be great, wouldn't it?
Okay, we will. I'll put that in my back pocket.
Yep. I mean, Bubba just did his best Dan Deerdorf impression. So.
I was almost going to say something. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I know you get your brain engaged, but your gearbox is stuck.
It was.
5 seconds.
Rattlers 34, Arizona leading the Storm with 21. 2 in motion, 1 each side. There's a high snap. Sokol fires upfield. Ball tipped out into the hands of Pegues. He takes it into the end zone. Touchdown! 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 Holy help me, Hannah! What a ball game! As the Storm tallies 6 more on a defensive turnover. Miles is the deep back. The up back is going to be Anthony Amos. Justin Saravatka going to kick it from the right hash. The fans making noise here at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. 8,000 strong. A bounding kick. It's going to be fielded there by Amos at the 8-yard line. Moves it upfield. Got a block. He's at the 20 to the 25. Oh! Is he hammered there? And making the stop was the kicker, Justin Saravatka. Holy help me, Hannah. What a hit by a kicker.
And then you get the kicker walk after a hit like that. He's walking like he's about 6'8", 350.
2 in motion on the right side. Back to pass, Sokol. Under pressure. He's sacked! He sacked me back to that 20-yard line. 5.5 to play, fourth quarter. Rattlers by 16. Lorenzo Brown gets a snap. Looking. Throws. End zone. Caught in the end zone. A flag comes out. That's a touchdown. Judd Harold. A touchdown. We'll wait and see what the flag is all about.
I think it's on the defense. Looks like holding.
Play action pass, Lorenzo Brown. Cox fires upfield all by himself. Tatum, he caught it at the 10-yard line. Bounces off the wall. He'll take it into the end zone. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. 1 play drive. The Storm is back in it again.
Possibility. From starting a family to starting a business. Everywhere there's possibility, there's Premier. Believe in possibility. First Premier Bank.